Mama Joyce warned everyone. For over a decade, she called Todd Tucker an opportunist to his face on national television. Now that Kandi's marriage is officially over, the internet is asking one explosive question. Was Mama Joyce right all along? Kandi Burruss isn't holding back about how she's feeling. She admits the emotional roller coaster is real. Some days she's out with friends, laughing, living her life like nothing's changed. Other days, the weight of it all crashes down. Going through a divorce, she says, is anything but easy. There are moments when you feel fine, and then there are moments when sadness just takes over. But this isn't your average celebrity split. This is Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker, 14 years together, 2 children, multiple businesses, and a prenuptial agreement that's about to be tested in ways neither of them probably imagined. The streets are buzzing, trying to piece together what really went wrong. Because the truth is, this divorce has more potential explanations than anyone can count on one hand. Was it the open marriage that reportedly included third parties? Was it Todd's alleged infidelity? Or did Kandi simply get exhausted playing ATM for the entire household? Maybe the real culprit was geographic distance, turning their marriage into what some are calling a long-distance situationship with tax benefits. And then there's the elephant in every room they've ever occupied together, Mama Joyce, lurking like a season-long antagonist who's been waiting for her vindication moment since day one. Let's start with what we know for certain. Kandi Burruss filed for divorce, and according to official court documents, she and Todd have been legally separated since July 15th. That's the hard date. Everything else, that's where things get messy. Kandi released a public statement, and it was measured, graceful even. She talked about deep thought and prayer. She said her focus is on protecting her peace, being the best mother possible, and co-parenting with love and respect. She's stepping into a new chapter, pouring energy into her work, her family, and her personal growth. She asked for privacy, grace, and understanding as they navigate this transition. During an Amazon live stream, she reinforced that message. No matter what's happening between her and Todd, they're parents first. They're co-parenting together, they have beautiful children together, and they're trying to make this transition as smooth as possible for those kids. She didn't dive into specifics about why she filed, but that silence, that's what has everyone speculating. Because here's the thing, when a woman with $30 million and a Grammy on her mantle walks away from a marriage, people want to know what broke. And when that woman has spent over a decade defending her husband against her own mother's accusations on national television, the theories start multiplying fast. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to where it all started, 2011. Kandi Burruss was already a household name when she joined the cast of Real Housewives of Atlanta in season 2. She didn't need the paycheck. She'd already won a Grammy for writing TLC's No Scrubs. She'd penned hits for Destiny's Child, Mariah Carey, Alicia Keys. She even contributed to Ed Sheeran's Shape of You, which kept the royalty checks flowing. When her friend Derek, who was also her hairstylist, told her producers were looking for new cast members, Kandi figured she'd join the show and have some fun. She could hold her own, she always had. Todd Tucker entered her life during season 4. He was working as a line producer on the show. When the cast took a trip to South Africa, Todd couldn't help but pursue her, even though he knew it could cost him his job. And here's where it gets interesting. Kandi later revealed that during that South Africa trip, a healer told her she'd be seeing wedding bells in the near future. The healer even said her future husband was right there with her at that moment. Fast forward, they started dating, got engaged in 2013, married in 2014. On paper, it looked like a modern love story. Successful woman meets hardworking producer. They build an empire together. They expand into restaurants like Old Lady Gang and Blaze Steak and Seafood. They launch a production company called Kandi Quoted Entertainment that helped produce projects like the Broadway revival of A Raisin in the Sun starring Denzel Washington. Todd wasn't just sitting around. He was actively involved in growing their brand. But underneath all of that, there were cracks forming from the very beginning, and the person pointing them out most loudly was Mama Joyce. Let's be clear about something. Mama Joyce and Todd Tucker have never had a good relationship, not from day one. She's called him an opportunist repeatedly on camera to his face in front of millions of viewers. She's questioned his work ethic, his motives, his family background, even his father's character based on photographs she'd seen. This wasn't subtle shade, this was open warfare. There was even a moment when Mama Joyce visited Phaedra Parks in her office and aired her grievances about how of all the people Phaedra could have introduced her famous daughter to, she chose one of the workers on the production crew. Mama Joyce admitted she could have choked Phaedra for that introduction. Out of all the lawyers and professionals in Phaedra's circle, she connected Kandi with a crew member. That's how Mama Joyce saw it. She didn't stop there. When asked at what point she started having doubts about Todd, Mama Joyce said it was after he stopped working following the Kim Zolciak and Kroy Beyerman wedding special. Most producers move on to other jobs immediately. Todd took 2.5 months off. He said he'd saved up his money and decided to take some time off. Mama Joyce didn't like that. She became wary. In her mind, that was the first red flag. But it got worse. Mama Joyce straight up said she lost respect for him as a man and as her daughter's husband because he wasn't the provider she expected him to be. She even implied at one point that her best friend Carmen was sleeping with Todd. The accusations were relentless, the disrespect was constant, and it all played out on television for years. Now, here's where it gets complicated. Many people believe Kandi is partly to blame for how her mother treated Todd. They argue she should have checked Mama Joyce at the door. She never should have allowed a storyline where her mother publicly disrespected her husband season after season. But Kandi has always maintained a different perspective. She believes Todd should be the one showing respect to her mother, regardless of how Mama Joyce behaves. There was even a situation where Mama Joyce didn't attend a baby shower because Todd didn't speak to her at a restaurant. Kandi felt Todd was disrespectful. Todd reminded Kandi that her mother had done countless disrespectful things to him over the years, so he didn't understand why him not greeting her was such a massive issue that she'd skip a family event. Kandi disagreed. She felt that since Mama Joyce is an older woman, Todd should always show her respect, no matter what. So the question becomes, did Mama Joyce slowly erode the foundation of this marriage? Did her constant criticism, her accusations, her refusal to accept Todd wear them both down until there was nothing left? Or was she simply the messenger pointing out problems that were already there? Before Kandi and Todd even made it down the aisle, there was a battle, the prenuptial agreement. Kandi had an estimated $30 million net worth when they got engaged. Todd's net worth at the time was significantly lower, so a prenup made financial sense. But Todd hated it. Specifically, he hated one clause that required him to vacate their shared home within 30 days of separation. He fought against signing it. Mama Joyce saw his resistance as confirmation of everything she'd been saying. In her mind, if Todd truly loved Kandi for who she was and not what she had, he'd sign the prenup without hesitation. His reluctance meant he was after her money. She made that belief very clear. In fact, Kandi and Mama Joyce got into a major fight right before the wedding because Todd wouldn't agree to the terms. Mama Joyce was convinced her suspicions were correct. He just wanted Kandi for her fortune. There were even rumors from Todd's past that added fuel to Mama Joyce's fire. An ex-girlfriend of Todd's named Mia allegedly claimed Todd left her for Kandi and referred to Kandi as a trick because of her money. According to Mia, Todd was only interested in breaking into the Atlanta entertainment circle, and Kandi was his golden ticket. Eventually, Todd did sign the prenup. But that resentment, it never fully disappeared. And now, over a decade later, that prenup is front and center again. Because while it protects everything Kandi had before the marriage, her homes, her money, her companies, her existing assets, anything placed into joint accounts, and any income earned during the marriage is still subject to being split. Georgia law allows for that, and Todd knows it. Here's something Kandi admitted publicly that raised eyebrows. She and Todd were only intimate once a week. Once a week, she said it herself, and her explanation? They were essentially living in a long-distance relationship despite being married. They were constantly in different states, busy with work, pulled in opposite directions by their respective commitments. The connection was fading, the physical intimacy was declining, and the emotional distance was growing. People on the internet didn't hold back. They said once a week isn't a marriage. That's a gym membership you keep forgetting to cancel. That's a subscription service you're not really using but haven't bothered to turn off yet. The lack of consistent intimacy became a running joke, but underneath that joke was a real issue. How do you maintain a marriage when you're barely in the same city, let alone the same bedroom? And it wasn't just about physical intimacy, it was about emotional availability. When you're running multiple businesses, raising children, filming reality television, managing public perception, and trying to keep a marriage intact across state lines, something has to give. For Kandi and Todd, it seems like what gave was the foundation of their relationship. They became business partners and co-parents first, romantic partners second, and eventually, maybe not romantic partners at all. Now we need to address the elephant that's been in the room for years. Kandi has been open about her fluidity and about her and Todd's decision to bring third parties into their marriage. On her show Kandi Coded, she confirmed they still had threesomes occasionally. She even mentioned one that happened within 6 months of the show airing. For some fans, this was just Kandi being honest about her sexuality and her marriage. For others, it was a red flag that boundaries were being blurred in ways that might cause long-term damage. There was even a theory circulating online that suggested actress Fatima Alfred was the couple's third. Fans noticed Kandi and Todd were spending significant time with her, including trips and holidays. Was she a friend? Was she something more? Did that arrangement create jealousy, confusion, or complications that ultimately contributed to the breakdown? Nobody knows for sure, but the speculation is loud. Some people argue that open marriages can work if both partners are fully on board and the rules are crystal clear. Others believe that introducing third parties into a marriage, especially one that's already dealing with distance and intimacy issues, is like pouring gasoline on a smoldering fire. You might think you're adding excitement, but you're actually accelerating the destruction. Let's talk about money, because at the end of the day, money is always part of the conversation when a marriage ends. Kandi Burruss is a self-made millionaire. She didn't inherit wealth. She earned it. She wrote hit songs. She built businesses. She diversified her income streams. She's smart, strategic, and financially independent. Todd, on the other hand, came into the marriage with far less. And while he contributed to their empire and worked on various projects, he was never the primary breadwinner. Mama Joyce made this point repeatedly. She felt Todd wasn't providing for her daughter the way a husband should. She saw him as someone riding on Kandi's coattails, benefiting from her success without bringing equal value to the table. And while Kandi defended Todd publicly and insisted he was a partner in every sense of the word, there had to be moments when she wondered if Mama Joyce had a point. Did Kandi grow tired of being the family's ATM? Did she feel like she was carrying the financial burden while Todd enjoyed the lifestyle without matching her hustle? Or did Todd feel emasculated by the constant comparisons, by the public perception that he was less than, by the narrative that he was only with Kandi for her money? Financial imbalance can poison a marriage from the inside out. And when that imbalance is discussed on national television for over a decade, it becomes impossible to ignore. Now we're entering the most complicated phase, the divorce itself, and this is where things get really messy. Allegedly, Todd didn't want to be the one to file first because he plans to seek alimony. In Georgia, when one spouse earns significantly more than the other, like Kandi with her multiple businesses, royalties, and long-term income streams, the courts can absolutely require the higher earner to pay. Todd knows this, his legal team knows this, and they're preparing accordingly. Todd is also claiming he doesn't have stable housing since he sold his New Jersey apartment. That could support his request for temporary financial help during the divorce proceedings. It's a strategic move. If he can demonstrate financial instability and lack of housing, the court might be more sympathetic to his alimony request. But it doesn't stop there. Allegedly, Kandi might end up having to pay some of Todd's legal fees, and Todd is reportedly considering going for full custody of their children, even though Kandi requested joint custody. If that happens, this divorce transforms from a standard dissolution of marriage into a full-blown legal war. Custody battles are expensive, emotionally draining, and can drag on for years. And when both parties have the resources to hire top-tier legal teams, it gets even more complicated. The prenup protects everything Kandi had before the marriage: her homes, her money, her companies, her pre-existing assets. But anything placed into joint accounts and any income earned during the marriage is fair game. That means Todd could walk away with 50% of assets and profits generated during their 14 years together. Depending on how their finances were structured, that could be a substantial amount. So what really caused this divorce? The honest answer is probably all of it. Marriages don't typically end because of one isolated issue. They end because of accumulated weight. 1,000 small cuts over years and years until the foundation finally crumbles. Was it Mama Joyce's relentless criticism? Absolutely, that played a role. Did the prenup create resentment that never fully healed? Without question. Did geographic distance and declining intimacy erode their connection? Of course. Did the open marriage arrangement blur boundaries in ways that caused confusion or jealousy? Possibly. Did financial imbalance and the provider dynamic create tension? Almost certainly. But here's what makes this story so fascinating. Kandi Burruss is a woman who's been in control of her narrative for decades. She's built an empire. She's navigated the music industry, reality television, entrepreneurship, and motherhood with grace and grit. She doesn't make impulsive decisions, so when she filed for divorce, you can bet it wasn't because of one bad week or one argument. It was because she looked at the totality of her marriage and realized it wasn't serving her anymore. And Todd? He's not the villain some people want him to be. He's a man who fell in love with a woman who was already a star. He tried to build alongside her. He defended their marriage against public scrutiny. He dealt with a mother-in-law who never accepted him. He navigated financial dynamics that were never in his favor. And now he's trying to protect himself and his children in a divorce he probably didn't want. Mama Joyce might have been right about some things. She might have seen red flags that everyone else ignored. But being right doesn't mean she didn't contribute to the problems. Her constant interference, her refusal to give Todd a fair chance, her public disrespect, those things matter too. She may have predicted the ending, but she also helped write it. Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker's divorce isn't just a celebrity breakup. It's a case study in how money, family interference, lifestyle choices, and unspoken resentments can slowly dismantle even the most public of partnerships. The tea is still spilling. More details will emerge. But one thing is certain. This ending was written long before the paperwork was filed. What do you think caused the divorce? Was Mama Joyce right all along? Or is the truth more complicated than any single theory can explain? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you made it this far, you already know what to do. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's keep unpacking the messiest stories in celebrity news together.